time. Today we have Beverly Carter of
Hi.
Notary Public, and who has a puppy visiting her.
He's just arrived. He's very happy to see his mom. Come here. Come. Hey, come now. Good boy.
So Beverly is a Notary Public. I've known her probably, I'm thinking 5 or 6 years, right?
More than that. Yeah, probably about 7 years, I think, at this point.
Okay.
Oh, got a puppy. He's leaving.
So Beverly can handle real estate. She does transactions that don't involve any sort of litigation in law. And she also handles wills and estates. And we've been chatting about how business is going for each of our companies. So for me, I found it slowed down a bit, and there are listings that are coming up and selling, but currently I don't have anybody on the market. How are you finding it for your business in terms of real estate, Beverly?
Well, we already had a lot of real estate in the works, so we've certainly been working on that. April is promising to still be quite a busy month. I guess the current pandemic is really, we'll have to wait and see how that shapes up for the following month. But I am optimistic, because I think once we're allowed to sort of be free again, I think the floodgates are going to open, and people, there's a pent up demand for sure, right?
For housing?
For housing, and I certainly am still seeing deals come through. There certainly are people out there, but absolutely, I think people are taking advantage of some of the mortgage rates that are happening. I've seen 2.49 for 5-year fixed. I haven't seen these rates for a good 2 years, but the majority of them these days, 2.49, 2.54, 2.59. That's sort of, if you've got a good credit rating, those seem to be really good normal numbers.
So just everybody should be sure we are going to get a mortgage broker on here to chat one day.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to not only look at the rate, you need to look at the terms and conditions of those mortgages.
That's right. Yeah. And so far I'm not seeing any change, but these are all a lot of deals that are, had already been probably pre-approved 3 to 4 to 6 weeks ago.
Right.
So, I think in the coming weeks we'll start to see some changes. What they look like, I'm not really sure. I certainly see in the real estate industry there's been some fundamental changes in how we're allowed to do some of our business, to allow people to be able to sign at distances. There's still changes coming up, because of course we're all sort of in this together, and we're all kind of regrouping. In some cases it was day by day, but they're good changes, actually. The ability to do some business through video, and there's
what do you mean by that?
signing, there's still some statutory requirements to be done in person, like signing, but say in some areas, like doing an affidavit, there's the ability to take a sworn declaration in some instances, not all, through a video chat, and then have that witnessed by a second person who then does a declaration. So this is unheard of in my experience. And so
what about signing? So I know when you purchase a property, you usually have to be in front of somebody to sign the paperwork. So can you sign that remotely, or can you also do that via video?
There are always been some that you can sign without being directly in front of the person. It's still the recommended practice to witness directly, because there are other issues that come up, like insurance. I know title insurance companies have sort of rallied to change some of their insurance clauses to underwrite certain elements of COVID. It's really the advice to us was stay tuned. Another area that will change, and it was already in the works to change, was banking. It was anticipated in a year to year and a half that we really would not be dealing so much with checks, because currently now, if I'm representing a purchaser and they're buying, I need to get my money to the seller's notary or lawyer. And so, we were already in the works in about a year to year and a half to have zero checks and have a different transmission method through the banks. And the banks have actively been working on that. Whether or not that will get fast forwarded, I'm not sure, but I think it's a good time to be able to do legal work, and to have the tools that we do. And, this, I think, is really just it's made everybody stand to attention and say, we're getting on with it, right? Because we just don't know the length of time that we'll be dealing with this or anything else in the future. So,
What I'm finding is now a lot more people are going with direct deposit.
yeah.
We can do virtual signings for contracts over the internet. We've been doing that. I think the first time I did it, we had an amendment, and we had to get an amendment signed before the buyer would remove conditions. And it was 11 o'clock at night, and I had a seller in Pender and a seller up in Fort McMurray. And
Right.
and I'm like, okay, well, I got to try this DocuSign stuff. I think that was 5 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I got it done, and I'm like, this has changed my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think so. At the point when you engage in a deal, I mean, you've usually had the opportunity to get to know the clients, and we're quite different because sometimes the first time we meet the client is when we sit and we sign paperwork with them. And, ultimately the money passes through our hands. So there's huge liabilities on our part. So, anytime, you're dealing, you have to proceed with caution when we're looking at those large amounts of money. Because there's a very short turnaround from the time we receive money to the time it goes out. So there's no room to be wrong.
Yeah, it's all about trust, right?
That's right. And there's we have to be worried about cyber fraud. All of that stuff is very real. We have incredible practices in the office. I'm constantly keeping up to date on what the most current issues are. You mentioned the remote deposits. I mean, that's been available to people on their phone. Depositing a check. We've been using that for about 4 years now, and I'm surprised that not everybody is, because why wouldn't you? It certainly has made my life easier in managing other legal people on the other side of a deal.
Well, it just shortens the timeline too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The money,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be couriered over or whatever, the way it used to be by check.
Right. Yeah. And so these days it's interesting because even if a bank says that they're open, they may not be. And so sometimes we've had to, because sometimes we can't avoid going there, and we're having to do some workarounds and chase banks. It's taken 2 to 3 hours sometimes to get something that would take 20 minutes before. You go there, you do your business, and you come back, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. So I've always had the practice, and I think I'm ahead of the curve in the way I do business. So for real estate deals, I've always booked a week before the transaction, because I learned that if you wait to the last minute, then everything happens at the last minute and it piles up. And if you're going to have a pressure cooker, it's because everything is last minute. And these are things that you can totally avoid by planning and signing well in advance, because it's not a pressure cooker. You've got time to, manage an issue if it comes up. And there's lots of things that come up in real estate, just odd, random, that you would never expect. And so I have very little issue because of that. And I know I make others bend to my to my timelines, not to theirs. Because I long ago I realized that in the industry that everybody was working to the last minute to do the deal. So why, if you have a closing, say this Friday, and we're already on Tuesday, and I'm getting mortgage documents on Wednesday, and I still have to review them and I have a lot of touch points with that. I have to reach out for other information from other people. And why would and then I have to get my clients in to sign who are probably getting ready to move. They don't need the stress. None of us need the stress. So I find that I've built in a lot of very healthy practices. I say I'm ahead of the curve, and I know that. But that's my belief is in serving the people to the best and making this as stress free as possible. You can't
I
reduce
find it,
everything, but
I find it funny on the other side when we look at a title and there's a mistake.
mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Like sometimes they've recorded the name incorrectly,
Yep,
or they've
yep,
forgotten
yep,
an initial, or they've forgotten a letter in a name, or they
yep,
have the names backwards. Happens
yep.
all the time.
Yeah, names are a very common issue for sure. So, like when I get a file in, even if it's not until June, the first thing I do is I look at the title. That's basically within probably maximum of 2 days of being able to review that file, and that's the very first thing I look at, because you can avoid a lot of issues by just and anticipating them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
One
yeah,
of the
yeah.
things I like working with you is that you guys call when the transaction's complete, and I will tell you that I have been there on Friday afternoon
Mm-hmm,
at 5 o'clock when possession is, and I do not have permission
mm-hmm.
to. I have not received permission, but I haven't received an affirmation that I can go forward. And it's really, really frustrating. So I appreciate that.
Right. Well, you know where that comes from. And I've thought about my own experiences, and that's often my best. I'm like, how could we do this better? Is it was about a house that I bought like 15 years ago. And I'm going, is it done? Is it done? I kept waiting around and waiting around. And I'm like, that's not much fun. And so I thought, you know what? I can take this a step up. And I start to hear that other people now do that, but that's always been my practice from day one. And
Yeah.
because it's respectful and we're all interested, and then you can get on with your business, and nobody's waiting, because I mean, it's a they say moving is one of those most stressful experiences. So um, try to keep that stress down and make it a positive overall experience. So thank you for saying that, because I try. I'm always looking to up it in any way that I can. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you'll notice that we start calling you around 3 p.m. if we haven't heard anything.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Well, and sometimes we do end up, I mean, if you have back-to-back deals, we're sometimes waiting for money, so we can't do certain things until we have funds in our account. So there are some times, but generally, most parties, like, we're always aware of that up front, and so we try to manage everybody's expectations and timelines and say, don't worry, we will call you, because that is our practice. It's one of the ticks in the boxes on my list of things that have to be done. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So talking, I'm not sure I'm hearing a noise, a deep noise. Is that
My
something?
voice hasn't changed. No. Sorry.
Okay, so regarding wills and estates,
Hmm.
why are they important? So when somebody purchases a property, they have a big asset in their name.
Hmm.
I think it's very important that they start to have a will, maybe even before that, a living will. Um, how how and why are these important, especially in today's times?
Huh. Well, I heard it said once that if you own anything, and let's be clear, everybody owns a bank account, you should have a will. Um, you know, the I've always been one about being personally prepared, right? And what the will does is it gives you, you know, if you're in charge, you're in the driver's seat as to where your assets go, right? So today's environment entirely illustrates the importance of being prepared, because like, this could happen to you. And never before in all of our, I think, collective knowledge, anybody who's born and raised in Canada, have we ever had any experience like this. And we're like, oh geez, this is real. I've had a huge run on people calling in to get me and every other notary in town to get wills and powers of attorney and health representation agreements. And
Mhm.
so, the will is the document that manages you from the moment of death. But there's a long time until that point. And powers of attorney, there's a lot of people out there who may have immune compromised systems who can't get out. I mean, let's be clear, business is still going on. People, I'm here, I mean, with extremely modified practices in place to make sure that all parties are safe. But there's a lot of people who aren't going out right now because, they can't afford the risk of getting sick.
Yeah.
And so if they can't do their own business, who's going to do it for them if they don't have a power of attorney? And the
Yeah.
power of attorney, all you need, I've always said the best scenario is these things collect dust. These documents, you don't use them, but when you need them, you really need them. And any, most people have, can come up with some, scenarios or people that they know where there's been a sudden incident, often a health incident, and somebody who appeared to be healthy, the next moment, they've had a massive stroke, right? Or they're diagnosed with cancer. That's the last time that you really want to be attending to the documents. The best time is when you're not facing any crisis, any personal crisis, because they're really hard documents to face when you're maybe dealing with a health diagnosis that's uncertain and scary.
Yeah.
So get it in place. It protects you. It allows you to carry on. It allows your spouse to carry on, so.
Yeah. And I think you need to communicate it before it comes to a head so that everybody is aware. Actually, unfortunately, I heard that one of my real estate counterparts up in Duncan just passed away suddenly on the weekend.
Oh,
We're not
okay.
sure why. So, it just goes to show she was younger than you or I are. And
Wow. Okay. Yeah. 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 And I mean, I see people at all stages of life and, touch wood, most people, get through, but we can all be sent on our backsides for a week or two or a few months too, right? It's, I remember, gosh, I was 35 and I had viral pneumonia and I was really sick and I was healthy. I was playing tennis 4 times a week and I couldn't move from me to you. Like I couldn't walk 2 feet. And so like that's one of the, in this day and age, that's one of the features that this illness or the pandemic, that's the scary part. It can evolve into that. And so you really do not want that. So, but you know what? I mean, the odds are we'll all get through it. Most of us will get through it and we'll maintain, reasonable health. Um, but you need to plan for those days because none of us lives forever. I always find, when you were talking about the end, like it's just about just prepare now and just put it away and don't even think about it until you have to. That's my best scenario.
so in terms of your business, then everybody is sort of changing the way they're doing things. We've gone to a way more virtual type system here. So we're doing everything we can before we meet with somebody face to face. How have you modified your business approach because I'm sure most of your business previously was probably done face to face.
Oh, everything was done face to face. So we've adapted very quickly. I think that's a benefit of being a small business, and flexible in your thinking as well. But we basically haven't had anybody step into the office for the last 3 weeks. So we're doing drive-in services, which is kind of, it's actually kind of fun. People have been really great about coming in. We're transferring documents ahead of time so people can pre-read them, or if it's something simpler like a notarization, they're getting documents to me so I can pre-read them and prepare them. And basically, we ask people to park in front, to call us when they've arrived. And then we'll go out, we'll either collect their ID. If they're not a previous client, we'll collect their ID. And we'll get the documents that they have, or if they're signing a will, we'll go out and we'll witness them. So they're sitting in their car and we're watching through the window, basically. A little interesting when it's been raining or windy, but people have been really great. I've had some clients yesterday, they were saying, can we order a cheeseburger and fries with that? So like they've had a really good humor. So I was thinking I should be offering up, everybody who comes in, root beers, handing out root beers like we're at, the old A&W drive-in. But honestly, a month ago, I could never never have imagined that that I would be doing that in this quantity. I couldn't imagine that I would be doing, you know, FaceTime or, you know, video chats with clients over their wills and powers of attorney and health agreements. I still need to witness those documents in person, but the workaround is that they're able to, you know, to come here and park, and we've reviewed everything ahead of time, so there are no, you know, no changes, no nothing, and so it's very efficient.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you know, it's exhausting because it is a new norm, and but it's still fun. I mean, you know, I've got my goodies here, right? I've already had these things, right? Like I'm ahead of the curve. Where are we at here? I already had things like this and this. Because
Yeah.
I've done lots of home visits and hospital visits, and so I've always been like, even collectively in our office, we have a very strong awareness that any one of our clients at any given time can have an immune compromised system. So I also have this. I'm almost stopped. The toilet paper, right? And I have with a light on right in, I'm staring at it right now, but I've got this 20-liter pail of medical grade hand sanitizer. Like a month ago, I could never have imagined that I would have so much hand sanitizer. There you go. Good job, right?
Your own.
Yeah. So we're just, you know what? It's just the frequency has really ramped up, and we refer to it in the office as hazmatting, and we've always been really diligent about that because we're very aware that not any one of us wants to get sick, and we certainly don't want our clients. But we know how we are, but we don't always know how they are. So
Great.
and so it works really well.
Today I was in Langford, and I was going to the post office. Everyone was really good. They were all 6 feet
Yeah.
apart. And then I'm out in the parking lot, and I see this girl, and I'm going to say she had really vibrant green hair.
Yep.
And she walked up to a guy, gave him a big hug. They sat in her car within 3 feet of each other. Then he got out of the car. He got a cigarette from somebody else in the parking lot, just some guy he didn't know.
Yeah.
And then she got out of the car later and went over and gave some other guy a big hug. And they all three got into the car and they left. And I'm like, it just takes one person to be to demonstrate what I would consider to be poor judgment in the situation, and to just, I'm sure as a normal teenager, and our kids, have asked, can they go and see friends? And I'm like, no freaking way, because I don't want to be responsible for somebody dying because I've passed on something,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, it's definitely a very different day and age, right? And my hope is that I always take a step back, because sometimes some people are kind of stressed, or and I always step back and like, what, this has taken a lot of people off guard, and I think we have to be kind and forgiving, if but also like protect ourselves if people aren't practicing healthy social distancing, right?
Yeah,
We practice it here, we practice it at home. Like it matters, right?
well, even my children find they're just not really aware of reality. It's a huge thing, right? And and they're very social. Okay, so let's talk about a happier side of things.
Yeah.
Supporting local businesses. So what do you do?
Yeah, so I think that's always been a huge mantra in Victoria, but some of the things that I can do and have been doing. So we've gone. Part of it is now I'm deemed as an essential service, so I really have to make sure that we mitigate risks for myself, for my staff. So we are making an effort every day to order in healthy food, because we need to stay healthy, hydrated and healthy, and so we're limiting our contact to outside stores or anything, and so we're ordering healthy salads from bin 4 or Earl's or you name it, like all kinds of places that pop up, Thai food, so we're just making sure, because it's been, certainly the first week or two was a huge, I was exhausted. I'm still pretty exhausted, but you know what? We need to feed our bodies and feed our minds. So that's one way. I had my birthday the other day, and so I ordered a bunch of cakes because I thought, geez, I can't have a party, but I need a party, and I'm pretty sure my friends do. So I ordered a bunch of cakes, and then I had them delivered around to the friends, and then we had a Zoom birthday party and sang happy birthday and had a piece of cake. So, and cakes, etc. They've got nice little small cakes that you can order. So obviously we don't need the large ones, but they're doing a great job. And they were really surprised. They thought I was ordering like one cake. I said, no, 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 I need more than that. And they're like, really? I'm like, oh, thank you. They're so happy, so it's nice, and when because it's keeping other people employed,
Have
right? And
you,
so what you put out there, makes a difference. I know recently also there was a group involved, Kathy Scott of Departures Travel. She certainly had an amazing run of it lately. But through all of that, her amazing leadership and strength brought her out to come up with the idea of why don't we come together and provide a dinner for at our place. And so there was a large group of us that contributed a substantial amount of money
I
to
was
be able to,
with
and
you,
you
by
were
the way.
part of that. Yep. So
The other thing is we
yeah.
were supporting Chinese restaurants.
Right, right, right. It came to our attention, well, to Kathy's attention. I don't take any credit. It's all her, that people had stopped going to Chinese restaurants because of, I guess China and the pandemic there. But I like, these are people, right? These are our local friends and
Far away.
neighbors and family. And, so we're, partly also wanted to make a statement, think local, support local, and it's okay to eat Chinese food. In fact, it's great, So we thought, how can we benefit in the community? So that's what, so that was another thing that was done. So, I'm very aware of, you know, um, who's around me. I really feel, some of the personal services people that I have see quite frequently, whether it's my physio or, the hair, whatever. How are the roots?
I know that's fine.
So, I feel for these people, right? Because their tap has totally just been shut off. And these are all hardworking people that I've come to know over years. And, you know, I feel so I need to do my part to keep it going. Really trying to remain positive for the benefit of family and friends and my staff and my clients, and all of those people who are really important to me in my whatever my normal world was. I want them to pull through too, right? I think it matters that we're all in it together, and we do. I was thinking this morning, what was it? Kennedy said, don't ask what we can do, you ask what you can do for your country," right?
Yeah,
And it's sort of like, what can we do for our community? And I've long believed that you look at those in your immediate space, because you should be able to look around and see how you can help somebody. So,
right.
you know, um, we've done drive by to friends, stayed in our car and waved and had a 10-foot distance chat, just to say we care. So doing things that we might have just stayed at home, not puttering about or something, but it's like, no, we need to let them know that we care, and we'll all pull through this. So
We've had
yeah.
some family chats online, which have been nice, and
Yeah.
I'm finding the face-to-face stuff every once in a while is really nice. And
Yeah.
part of the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to support local businesses,
Hmm.
but also I want people to realize that people are adapting and
Hmm.
they're making it work, and they just have the protocols in place. And as long as they're not interacting directly with people and they can make it work. I will say one thing about the signing is make sure people bring their own pens, because
Yes. Yes.
that is
Yeah.
the biggest transmitter in the office. Okay, so
Yes.
thank
Yeah.
you for taking time. How can people get in touch with you?
See, if I move. Oh, how about
I've got another way of doing it. There we go.
that? Actually, a really good way is just to, if you go onto our website, we've got a contact form. That's great. That comes in, and we're constantly monitoring any questions or requirements coming in. Email is hello@carternotary.com. And we are still doing lots of wills and powers of attorney and health agreements. We've become really adept at our technology these days, whether it's FaceTime or Google. So we've adapted, and most people are really quite happy to be able to make it work. They're happy to be able to get on with the will or the whatever they hadn't quite got around to doing it. It's forced them to get off their behind and get on with it. So and they're just happy. For me, like, they're just happy we are here to offer the service. And so um, I'm happy to be able to do it, and that's why staying healthy and well really matters, because then because I'm doing my part to keep the economy going, keeping people employed, ordering, supporting other small businesses in whatever other way. I can talk in what other way any way I can. How about that?
I think we should come up with a motto: where there's a will, there's a way.
Where there's a will, there's a way. That's so. Oh, geez, yeah. There you go. Yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
thank you. So if you want to get in
Thank
touch
you.
with Beverly, you can reach her at Carter Notary Public. Is it Carter Notary Public?
CarterNotary.com.
CarterNotary.com.
This is just something, I'm just going to bring this to your attention, because I'm not so great on this side of the camera, but I'm getting better. This is actually something that I put together. I'm just in the middle of copywriting it, but essentially I set it up to be it's a workbook. And current pandemic is a really excellent reason why you'd want this, because stuff happens to people and you may not be able to access online. Um, and you need a place to be. I say this is the fourth most important document: your will, your power of attorney, your health agreement, and your me, myself, and my estate, because that matters. What if somebody else had to step into your life and manage your day-to-day business affairs? They wouldn't know how, because we don't get bills sent to our home. We don't, we're so anyhow, you can call me and talk to me about this.
Is it
I'll
guided questions?
my parents' information, children independence, my pets, where important documents are located, where important identity documents, important house accesses, legal documents, professional contacts, business ownership, your health record. Like, if somebody had to if you got hit by a bus and somebody had to step in your life and figure it out, because so much of it is online, they wouldn't have a clue, because they wouldn't even be able to make the first step of figuring out getting into your computer. So I put this on with the hat of, I interview a lot of people, about their wills, but then there's the all the time before that, you're alive, and we can all have to step in. Like, I had to step in and manage my mom's life for you know 10 to 12 years. And so, what's her credit card? Where does she have credit cards? All of that stuff. So it's many different hats. And I tested this out at a seminar that I spoke at last month, and I got rave reviews. So they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is everything in one place." So anyhow,
I think it's important because I see it
yeah,
when it doesn't work.
yeah,
Come
that's
on.
right. That's right. Yeah, for sure. So anyhow, that was it. Sorry, am I done?
You're done. You're
I'm
so
done.
done.
I'm so done. Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to
Get
get in
real.
with Beverly, you can reach her at carternotary.com. You can email her at hello@carternotary.com, or you can give her a call at 250, what's your number?
383-4100. So
Okay.
250-383-4100.
All right. If you want information about real estate, you can contact me. I'm
Yeah.
Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun,
Yeah.
and I am host of Vancouver Island Time. Stay tuned tomorrow. What day is it? Wednesday?
Tomorrow's
We're gonna
Wednesday.
be talking taxes. Yay! Because it is tax time. And then Thursday, we're gonna be talking to the renowned Castro Botang, who owns what's it called? Botang in Langford, which is one of the uh, coveted restaurants, and they have pivoted and come up with a new strategy on how they're doing business. So you want to see that. That's going to be really interesting.
Great.
Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow at 4:30. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Great. Thanks, Jane. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Great. Be safe.